everyone. My name is Tori, and I would like to do a report for yesterday, Monday the 4th of January, and specifically for the MyLab CIA-operated child trafficking operations, which are owned by the Bush family. And they have 39 locations in the United States and 10 others worldwide. Yesterday, 158 children were gang raped and then murdered in 12 locations. And 32 of the children were brought to the Albuquerque, New Mexico location by the ICE Corporation, which is, ICE is a child trafficking corporation. And their primary service is to collect children and provide them to the men and women who rape and murder them. They were all abducted, all Mexicans, and they were all abducted in southern Arizona, taken to the Albuquerque, like I said, New Mexico location, and then they were, distributed elsewhere. And the rest of this group, I think it was 126 other children, were brought in by SOCOM forces, which is a privately owned military group and also owned by the Bush family. And the last time I checked, I think the Bush family was worth $79 trillion. And they were first taken to Houston, and by bus from the Gulf. SOCOM brought them in off the Gulf of Mexico. Then they were taken by bus to Houston, and then distributed to the other MyLabs. And this time I'm going to do the breakdown a little bit differently. The locations, and then instead of going through, I'll just say the men and the women. For Houston, there were 16 men and 1 woman involved. In Dallas, there were 37 men and 2 women involved. In Crawfordsville, Texas, there were 76 men and 14 women involved. Because a lot of women really like to see their men rape children. It's very sexually arousing to them for some reason. Langley, Virginia had 58 men and 16 women. Arlington, Virginia had 64 men and 4 women. Washington, D.C. number 1 had 108 men. Washington, D.C. number 2 had 12 men. The Pentagon location had 201 men. And this time, of the 4 MyLabs in New York State, this one was the one in Midtown. And there were 10 men there, and they were all CEOs. Wilmington, Delaware, there were 12 men, and they were all military contractors. Philadelphia had 8 men, they were all CEOs. And Boston had 46 men and 3 women. And, as I've been saying for a while, there's this process that I really don't understand, but normally, the Divine Director and the Lords of Karma handle those who do not have 51% sacred light when they die to generate a tunnel to go up to heaven. And the Archons would manage a certain group of souls, and, and I don't really understand it. And Heaven was explaining it to me in the simplest of details, the Hall of Research, actually. And they told me that the person didn't really have to die for them to switch the soul. In other words, like an example of that is Benjamin Netanyahu. And because there are 17 people on this planet that worked in the Nazi German concentration camps in World War II that are now parading around as Jewish people, which to me is so insulting. I mean, I'm not Jewish by religion. I have a small percentage of Jewish just by blood from my family's lineage. The family, that part of our family was named Levine. And also, from the Hall of Records, because everything is recorded in this reality, and brings me up to another Nazi war criminal. He's acting as Indiana governor. His name Mike Pence. And, I've tried to explain to these people that everything is recorded. And we have a quote that I got from the Hall of Records last night. And this is child rapist and child murderer Mike Pence. quote unquote. And he's trying to enlist another person. And he said, we have a secret group of men that are entitled to the best of the best. We have so many special privileges not available to anyone else. The only requirement is total secrecy, and the rewards are immeasurable. We can give you positions of power and control, and all police and law enforcement officers are merely our slaves. And they do exactly what we tell them to do. You will never be prosecuted for anything ever, as long as you keep your mouth shut. And Mike Pence said this to Indiana Representative Christopher Judy, who I have no idea what he stands for, but he doesn't rape children. Excuse me. And I've been going through the Indiana politicians, and I found other politicians that aren't involved in child trafficking. But I'll have to do that probably in a separate report. In fact, we have some former prosecutors and some absolutely wonderful people. And I'd like to go through, I was speaking to at the Hall of Research as well, and they were talking about, the Nazi war criminals. And my question before was, I thought 90% of the men and women who worked in the German concentration camps and the Nazi soldiers, I thought it was 90% were now living in new bodies here in the United States. And they said yes, but it's actually 90.25% of Nazi war criminals are here in new bodies. 17 of high-ranking men are acting as Jewish men. Benjamin Netanyahu and Chuck Schumer, senator from New York, and 15 others. And Mike Pence worked in 3 concentration camps, and he personally killed over 8,000 people, mostly Jews, Africans, and children. And he raped over 500 children in his lifetime, where he worked directly for Adolf Hitler, which doesn't surprise me at all because these people love to kill. They absolutely love to kill. You know, I won't go into the reasons why, other than what other people have told me, if heaven has told me or whatever, you know, because they feel that they would be rewarded. But look, if you look at the souls of the people who killed in the German concentration camps, now they're either in Hollywood or they're in positions of power, so that belief that they would be rewarded did have some substantiality. Sorry, I can't say that in my head. I've taken so many hits with weapons I can barely talk sometimes. But my point is, but see, it wasn't done by the Lords of Karma and the Divine Director. And see, the Lords of Karma, if you don't have 51% sacred light to generate a tunnel of light to go back to heaven, the Lords of Karma normally mostly humans, I'm sure it's almost virtually all humans, but they would put you in, because God doesn't punish us. God doesn't send us off to hell. That's all a myth. That's religious dogma. It doesn't exist. Hell does not exist. This is hell here. They will put you into a womb of a mother where you can have a chance, because the universe will give you chance after chance after chance until you get your lessons right. However, the archons, now they would take these certain souls and recycle them into positions of power. So there was a reward system. That's what I'm trying to say. The archons had a reward system for those who murdered for them the most. You know, and they had all kinds of reasons for, you know, killing all these people. Mostly it's human sacrifice and money. That's basically all World War II was about, was killing as many people as possible in many different countries, not just in Germany, but generating money. Like in the first, I forget what it was, in the first, I think, two years, just under 2 years in the Iraq war crime, it generated $5 trillion. And they transferred $5 trillion of taxpayer money into the hands of those who were responsible for the murders, the war contractors and whatnot. And that's the way it works. And another thing, I have more good news, is that that recently, I don't know, I wish I could put it up, but recently there was a double rainbow over our lake. And when I took a picture, there were a lot of blue orbs in that, which I absolutely love getting photographs of blue orbs. And the message was that divine justice has been granted to me and to a lot of other people, the children, and also, because I had gone to petition, I went to the Hall of Mother God, or the Temple of Mother God, I'm sorry, and I wrote a petition because I wanted divine justice. And she said at the time it was granted, but I also did for some people that I know and worked with, Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson. And then later it was modified to include all the others, because we weren't just fighting for justice for those murdered by John Brennan and the other group of child traffickers, but we were also seeking justice for the murders of JFK. And the two men that shot JFK were George H.W. Bush and Zbigniew Brzezinski. His daughter is on the CBS. Mika is the blonde-haired woman, Mika. Her father was the one who shot JFK. And he has murdered hundreds and hundreds of children, so like Benjamin Netanyahu, during rape. And Brzezinski and Bush had a competition going on to see who could murder the most children during rape. And one of the interviews that I did with Galactic Connection, because most of the time the NSA, sometimes we've had 12,000 people listening in, and we had brought up the heavenly prayers of divine justice. When you say, I invoke the ray of divine justice into every molecule, cell, DNA, energy, particle, and waves, subatomic particles and waves, and the spaces in between, in the minds, bodies, and souls of these men who rape and murder children. Well, as I was sharing that information, 7,000 people on the dark side did that invocation, which is a type of prayer, for me, thinking that it was going to bring me harm. Well, actually, it was just the opposite. And those 7,000 people, that they triggered as like a tsunami wave of basically a tsunami wave of asking for justice, and it kind of did it backwards, because they didn't realize that being on the bad side, they thought it would bring harm to the good side, but actually it was the opposite. And the double rainbow over our lake, heaven told me, with all the orbs and the angels and everything in it, I wish I could get that up, and but they said that the divine justice had been completed in the realm of cause. And once some realm of cause is somewhere in heaven, and when they want to change something here in this reality, they do it in the realm of cause. And once it's done there by law, it has to manifest. And nobody, it doesn't matter who they are, what weapons they have, no one can undo it. It has to be done, because this universe is not run by the dark side, and the dark side is very limited, and that's why their highest level of DNA activation is 156 strands. Whether it's the Illuminati Hollywood members that murder children to get new scripts and lots of money, like Tom Cruise or Chris Hemsworth, or the others, or Satan or Lucifer, they all had 156 strands activated. The normal level for us is over 1 million strands activated for humans. That's what we call fully conscious. And for years we operated on 2 strands of DNA. But no longer. In fact, when I look at people's DNA, I never ever see 2 strands activated anymore. Usually the minimum is now 12. But I want to thank the dark side for invoking the ray of divine justice for me and the children and everything. And last night when I was speaking to the Hall of Research, they said it is a little over 90% complete. And so we're very, very close to the end of this. And God bless you all. God bless your hearts. And very, very soon, this is all going to be over. Take care.